Okay, so for those of you who are ready, we're going to go ahead and sew together our waistbands, and then we're going to put them onto our pants. Take out your two back pieces and open them up. And then what we'll do is one by one, we'll put these side seams together. So here's my side seam going out to the center front. I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to put it right sides together. And then let's do the same thing here. Now we're going to take these and we're going to come over to the other side and flip this over, so now you have your side seams are right here matching there, and we can put these together here. And the easiest way to check yourself is here is the notches for center fronts, here is center back on the fold, and that's all here in the middle, so that's the side seams on the outside edges. For all four of these side seams, you're going to start with a back tack, sew it 1/2 inch, following the curve of the side seam, and end with a back tack. And then you can cut all your threads down to 1/2 inch. And then for all four side seams, go ahead and butterfly press them open. This long outside edge here is all on the bias and it's going to want to stretch out. So let's go ahead and stay stitch that right now. We'll stay stitch this at 1/2 inch and don't do any back tacks at the beginning. Be sure as you're turning the corners, you're not holding it down here because you're just going to stretch it out. Just use your fingertips to move it around. Now one of these contour waistbands is going to sew to your actual pant body, and then the other one is going to hang down on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish the bottom raw edge of one of your waistbands. So now I've overlocked the bottom edge of one of my waistbands. This will now be the inside waistband, and this is the outside. So this is the one that's going to face out to the customer. So taking one side of your pants, let's go ahead and fold these correct sides together, and we're going to stitch the inseam starting and ending with a back tack. Let's butterfly press this seam open, and then we'll come down here and we'll put a stay stitch at the knee level, or if you're doing a full pair of pants, all the way down at the ankle. Start sewing before the inseam, and then as you come all the way back around, you'll end on this side, so it'll be 2 rows of stitching going over this. I also like to do a little back tack when I get here to the side seam. A lot of times down here at the knee level or the ankle level, the hem will easily start to fall apart and it kind of looks bad. So if you have an overlock machine and you want to continue with this, go ahead and finish your ankles or your knees right now. Be sure to trim away any extra threads and look for anything that's hanging off of this, just so your client doesn't have their foot or their shoe or something snag on it while they're putting their pants on. The last thing we want to do is we want to take both of these crotch curves and we need to sew them together so this becomes a pair of pants with two legs. What we're going to do is we're going to turn one of these right side out and the other one inside out. But you need to know the correct one in order to be able to come in here and sew it, starting from the back, going towards the front, and having this cup into the sky. So if you take a look, here is my left side of pants that are inside out, and here's my center back correct side out. And then if I come over here to my right side of my pants, which are right side out, I can find the center back, the correct side out, and I can put them together. Now you can see that the right leg, which is right side out, needs to go inside the left leg, which is inside out. And then right away you will notice that you can sew this crotch curve all the way to center front with the right sides together. Now that we're getting to the end of finishing your pants, make sure you do a back tack at the beginning, and then we're going to sew all the way to the zip stop from center front and do a back tack there as well. As you come into the area where you have your inseams, make sure that your inseams are matching so they're stacked right on top of each other. And also make sure that your inseam seam allowances are staying pressed open. As I come across the inseam, I'll do a little back tack right there. Now we're getting up to the part of your pants where we have the square, which was the bottom of your zipper, and there's a little drill hole punch going through. This is where you need to stop sewing. So get right up to the drill hole and then back off from that. Down here where the inseams cross over at the crotch seam, there's a lot of bulk and extra fabric. If you want to trim the edges of these so they match the curve of the pants, and also if you want to, you can corner off the seam allowances. And then trim away any extra threads so they don't get tangled when your client is doing a fitting. Alright, so let's take the inside leg and let's bring it here to the outside, so now your pants are inside out. Now here we can see that the waist is a complete circle all the way from center front back to center front, and that's the same for our waistbands. Take out your waistband that does not have the finished edges. So that one, set it aside, and we're going to use this one here. Now normally for me, when I'm sewing a really long distance like this, usually what I'll do is I'll start in the middle and work my way to one of the outside edges, and then I'll flip my project over, and then I'll sew again starting from the middle and working my way to the outside edges. But in this instance, we need to be able to keep twisting and turning the waistband as we're traveling in a straight line. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to start at center front and work our way all the way through to center front again. Now get the waist of your pants where center back is flat on the tabletop. Again, these are inside out. And when I'm looking here inside my pants, this is the correct side. What we want to do is, if this is your center back here, come over to the center front here. So we have center front, it's the correct side up, and we're able to get this underneath the sewing machine. Now for the contour waistband, we're going to also sew this with the right sides together at center front. So first you have to find where's the right side, then come over and find your center front so we can put this right sides together along the outside curve of your waistband. And again, you'll notice here's your notches for center front, here's your notches for the grain line, and this is the right sides together. Now before we sew this down, I just want to show you something really quick that you'll want to know later on when you're going to install a zipper. So far what we've done on our pattern making was we made the contour waistband extension the same as for doing a mock fly zipper. Now what's going to happen is eventually on women's wear, the center front for the right side of the pant is going to be on the fold, and the zipper is going to be hiding inside of here. So the extension of your waistband will stick out another inch, and you're going to sew down at 1 inch to hide all that extra fabric, and that's how you're going to finish all of the raw edges. Now for the inside, on the left side of your pants, what's going to happen is you're going to have this folded under, so there's just a little 1/4 inch extension, and then eventually that'll be sewn down with one side of the zipper. So then as you come across with your waistband, then you will come across and you will come down and match where that zipper's at to finish all the raw edges on your waistband. So for me, that's why I like to just have 1 inch extension here, because it works perfect for both sides of the zipper, even though you need different seam allowances on both sides. So that's just something that I want you to know later when you start to come back and follow a video that teaches you how to install a zipper. Now what we're going to do is, for the right side of the pants, we're going to fold it here on center front, and we're going to make the waistband stop at center front. And then for the inside pant leg, which is your left pant leg, we're going to just come out the same distance as the extension and just leave these edges raw. So again, here you can see the left side of the pants is in front of the right side, and this is where the waistband would meet up at center front. And then here I have the waistband just goes all the way to the edge, the raw edge of my extension, for leaving 1 inch of seam allowance to sew a zipper onto here. Alright, so let's go back to the sewing machine and we'll do this now. So during this demo, we're just worried about getting the muslin in the correct places to test our pattern pieces, so I'm not going to install a zipper. Now the way we have it set up, where we are starting is the layer that's beneath, and we're just leaving all the raw edges together. Let's go ahead and start sewing with the back tack. And make sure you're matching your notches perfectly. Now as we get up here to the side seams, I want to make sure the side seams are stacked right on top of each other. I want to make sure that the seam allowances stay pressed open and they don't roll under. And I also want to make sure I don't accidentally sew my pocket bag. Now I'm making sure my notches are matching up perfectly with the darts. And then we have the center back of the waistband is meeting the center back of your pants. Now at the very end here, we're coming over to the center front that normally would be completely pressed on the fold at center front. So go ahead and fold that now. And also, let's take the seam allowance here, and I'm going to pin it down in place so it doesn't accidentally roll out when we sew over the top of this. And then I'm making sure my last notch is matching up here on the fold at center front. And do a back tack at the end. Now take a look here at the seam allowances. This is the main body of the pants, and if you look at the seam allowance, it's really smooth. And then this is the waistband, and if you look at these seam allowances, they're ripply and bumpy. What we're going to do is, at the peak of each of these bumps, we're going to go ahead and just put a single clip in there. Now officially, you're supposed to cut little triangles to get rid of more fabric, but since we're just doing a basic muslin mock-up, that's good enough. And remember, the clips that you're doing is just on the seam allowance of the waistband. And then let's go ahead and we're going to finger press the waistband seam allowances going upwards towards the waistband. All the seam allowances are here going up towards the waistband. Once you've finished finger pressing the whole entire waistband, let's come over here and we're going to match up the top edges, right sides together of the contour waistband. Now remember, for the top edge of our waistband, we just have this little tiny 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if you need to, you can come in here and you can chalk the beginning of that seam allowance, so then you know exactly where it's lining up here on your sewing machine. And let's start again with back tack. Now as I get to each of the side seams, I like to do a little back tack just right at that side seam. Now once we get out to the ends here, this is the area where I've folded under center front of the right leg for women's wear. What we want to do is we want to keep sewing at a 1/4 inch until we get in alignment with center front, and then we want to turn the corner and stitch down towards center front. So what I'm going to come do is I'm going to just chalk this right along my 1 inch seam allowance, heading back towards the center front here. And then I'll do a back tack when I'm getting right on top of the final stitch area. And I'm going to do a little back tack right here. I'll turn the corner. I'll do a little back tack here. And then we're going to sew all the way down to where you see the fold right there. And back tack. At this stage now we have the waistband sewn all the way around. Basically what we're going to do is the side right here that has all the raw edges at the extension, we're eventually just going to turn this to the inside of the pants. And then the side here where we fold it under, center front, we're going to take this corner right here and we're going to turn it inside out, just the same as if we were doing like a collar. For now what we want to do is this whole top edge is a continuous inside corner. So what we need to do is we need to come in and clip about every inch. Make sure you don't cut anything when you're at the side seams. Now when we press this, we're going to have all of these seam allowance press downwards, and then we're going to finish that top edge. Something that makes it really simple is if you were to come in here and on this little tiny 1/4 inch, if you were to butterfly finger press it open, it'll be a lot easier to turn the top edge of this waistband. Once you get to the corner here, you can't really keep finger pressing all the way. Now take a look at, this is the part of the waistband that we finished, the raw edge, and it's just hanging down freely. And this is the other side of the waistband where it's curling up. It's already folded up. Let's go ahead and trim this one down to just a 1/4 inch. And then taking a look here at this corner, what we're going to do is we're going to cut at a 45-degree angle and get rid of that extra fabric as well. Now what I'll do is I'll come in here and I can finger press. So now what you can do is you can finger press the seam allowances to match the shape of that corner. And then do the same thing here on the other side. So we're basically training all of the seam allowance to go into its place before we turn this corner right side out. And then once you have all the seam allowances pressed, I'll take my scissors and I'll put them right on that corner, and I'll have my thumb here on the inside, and we can pop this corner out all nice and crisp and perfect. Alright, let's go over to the ironing board and get these pants finished up. So let's turn our pants back to right side out, and we can start here with the corner of the right pant. We already have the corner all ready to go, it just needs to be steamed. I'm going to just make my point a little bit sharper. And then I'm just going to continue along the top edge, getting it to now press downwards. Now for those of you who have the ham, take your largest ham that you have and you can start draping this contour waist and steaming in it, pressing it, and letting it cool off. And I'm always careful when I pass by where the pocket is, that I want the pocket bag to be facing forward just in case I steam on it. I don't want to crush it. Now once we get to the end here, where it's just all these raw edges, this is basically where we're mimicking that your zipper is going to cross over and the pants will close up like this. So if you want to, you can come down, close it up, and steam this center front one last time. So eventually there's going to be a zipper inside right here, and the other side of the zipper, it will be sewn onto this pair of pants right here. Now for those of you who have the overlock machine, if you want to make this a little more presentable, you can go ahead and overlock all these edges together. Down here at the bottom, you can just tie the overlock into a simple knot, and cut away the extra. And then here at the top, what I'll do is I'll flip this over and I'll pull my threads in between the overlock stitches. So now it'll be clean finish when you put this back onto your client. At this stage now, I'm going to go ahead and press the side seams of my pockets, and then I'll start getting the pleat for the front and the back. And then of course just making sure that all of my pants look really good and wrinkle free. Now if you take one last look here at the waistband, so the waistband itself still wants to peel open. Now for me, when I'm doing a muslin mock-up, this is totally fine because when you put your pants on, you're going down into the pants. So this is not going to peel upwards. But if you're making a mock-up for a client and they're paying you a lot of money to make some custom pants for them, what you might want to consider is you can stitch in the ditch all along this top edge, and then what you'll be doing is you'll be catching this underneath here, and then it won't flop up. And basically that's how I would finish these if I was doing final fabric. Alright, let's go try these out on the dress form. Alright, so here we go. This is the final fitting now for doing the contour waistband as well as the side seam pockets. So basically what I've done is I brought my client in and I said, okay, I have your pants ready. She puts them on. I've pinned them here at center front only to the pants, of course not to the body. And if you're working on a dress form, do the same thing. Just pin it only to itself. And then down here at center front, you'll want to pin it as well so this isn't flapping open. Everything else should be just free floating. It shouldn't be pinned to the dress form at all. And that'll give you a really good sense of how well these are fitting. If they're still a little loose on her or a little bit tight on her, you can go ahead and just adjust center front, and then later on know that you'd probably rather adjust them on the side seams or maybe even center back. Alright, so these look amazing. These look great. You can imagine basically what I would be doing is I'm making pants all the way down to the floor, and this would be a really nice pair of custom dress pants, probably for someone where they're working in an office, maybe they're going to do a presentation or a job interview, and they just want the perfect fitting pants for a particular occasion. You can see here that having that contour waistband really molds to the hips, and it looks like these pants were literally molded right to your person. And that's exactly what you're looking for. Again, something else that I really like is keeping the double darts in the back and having this real complementary shaping here in the back. And this looks amazing here in the front. There's no more darts or anything here. We've simplified just having a basic pleat. And there's no pulling here in the front crotch area, which means we didn't make it too tight. And then of course everything's nice and flat and clean on her hips. And you might not even notice at first that you actually have side seam pockets. And the side seam pocket here would fit all the way up to like an iPhone 12. Now as you remember, all of this came back to your original block sloper, which comes all the way back up here to the natural waist. And you can see that ultimately we get rid of quite a bit of this extra fabric. The reason that we're using the natural waist is you have to have something to measure from here to the floor so we can come back and square from the ankles back up to the waist area. If you're doing this for men's, basically you could just have men's wearing some boxer shorts or whatever underwear they prefer and just measure right to the top of their underwear. For the girls though, we'll come back up into the natural waist to develop our basic block slopers. And also, this is the same exact sloper and the same thing you're going to do when we draft a skirt as well. Even though you might have a knee-length skirt or a mini skirt, you still want to know from the natural waist all the way to the floor to have the most accurate fit. So I hope you guys are really excited now that you know how to take your basic block, turn it into a contour waistband, add in a side seam pocket. Keep in mind that what I taught you about the side seam pocket, you can place this anywhere. So if you have a longer dress or a garment that already exists, if you want to, you could take the side seams apart and add the same exact side seam pocket. Cool. Also, you want to make sure that you have just one finger of ease all the way through so you know that they can move around and breathe and everything is good to go. And then one other check was just to make sure that the top of their underwear is a good 1.25 inches below the top of your pants. So then, of course, it would never show. But yeah, this looks great. These definitely, it just molds right to the body. Love it. You could tell immediately if somebody's wearing something like this that this is definitely custom clothes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. The next thing that I'm working on is how to take your basic block and then turn this in for a jean fit. And then along with the jean fit, what we'll do is we'll do the Western style front pocket as well as the patch pocket in the back. Later on, if I have time, maybe I'll also do the besom pocket, so like a double welt pocket, or maybe some kind of a flap welt pocket, something like that. But for sure, the next videos that I'm going to be working on is going to be changing your original draft into a jeans fit.